Okay, we're almost done. One more thing to mention about URLs is that they usually contain human-readable characters. The one that we've been using as an example so far has all English letters and symbols that we can write. But sometimes you might want weirder characters. What if you want a space bar in your URL? Is that something you can do? What if you want to use one of these special characters? We already saw that the question mark is reserved for the query. What if I want the URL to have a question mark inside? Well, turns out if you want to do this, you just have to use something called URL encoding, and all you have to do is type a % followed by the hexadecimal value of the character. If you remember ASCII from any previous class, that's a mapping of numbers to characters. So if you say %20, you're saying, please give me the character corresponding to number 20, and that happens to be a spacebar. If you say %35, you're saying, give me a literal hash sign. I don't want it as a special character. I just want the actual hash sign. And you can actually do this for printable characters if you want. You could say %50, and that corresponds to the character 2. So sometimes you'll see this. You can think of it like escaping when you're writing code. This is one way to escape special characters. So why are we spending all this time telling you about all this seemingly boring stuff? Here's a little preview of why something like URL escaping might be useful. And we'll see this again later. But just to give you a preview, because I know you're kind of bored of all the syntax, let's say that you're writing some code to check for attacks, and you want to block any URL that has this string in it, because you don't want people to access the passwords file. That's bad. But what if an attacker writes the URL like this? That doesn't look like the passwords file. But if you look up in the ASCII table what 2F corresponds to, 2F is the slash, and 6.5 is the E, and 7.4 is the C, and so on and so forth. So it turns out, once you unescape this, you end up getting the password string anyway. So maybe an attacker can get clever and do things like this to avoid being detected. So it's a bit of a preview for why we're spending so much time talking about escaping.